Good time of day you're watching this to you, my sweet, sweet audience on YouTube. Here at QTV, I'm your host, Kallie. Usually I do the show with another person to fill my deep, deep void of loneliness from being quarantined by myself for literally a month. Today, I think. Oh wait, no, I quarantined on Saturday. It's been a month, okay, so it's a lot. Today though, I'm doing the show solo, but I really didn't want to, I really love collaborating. I love that sweet, sweet collaborative touch. So I asked my Instagram followers what topics they would be interested in seeing me cover on Porn TV. I got a lot of responses and I did look at all of them, but the one that stuck out to me the most was somebody submitted Bohemian Grove. So when I did my first quick overview of all of the topic, I was like, oh yeah, this totally fits into the theme of what I've been talking about, which is kind of, government, higher up, conspiracy kind of stuff. So this really goes right along with that. Okay, so this is a little spoiler alert of what we have in store for us today with this episode. Okay, look at these little, we don't love that. Okay, so Bohemian Grove. It's a private retreat in the middle of the redwood forests in Sonoma County by San Francisco. It belongs to the men's club, the Bohemian Club. The Bohemian Club started in 1872 as a private men's club for creative people, bohemians, you might say, journalists, artists, musicians, poets. Shortly after it started, it began accepting businessmen and entrepreneurs into their ranks. Big mistake. Big mistake, okay? That's where you always lose when you let the business dudes in, because they are evil. Nowadays, surprising no one, when you get businessmen into the mix, it now includes major politicians, policymakers, and money movers from across the United States. Some of the notable people in the club is Richard Nixon. He was an honorary member, which I don't really know what that means in context, because, I mean, they're all going to these parties. George H.W. Bush, okay, older Bush. William Randolph Hearst. Teddy Roosevelt. There's just a ton of people since the inception of this bad boy in 1872 that have joined. CEOs, military contractors, oil barons. Do you still call them barons in the 20th and 21st centuries? Oil guys. They're all the same. All these people are in the same very highly exclusive men's club. It's only men. I think it's, if not only exclusively white men, which obviously you're not technically allowed to do. They are a white supremacist men's club. Of course. So, why does the idea of a club that is exclusive to men, to white men who have inherited power, gained their power through nepotism, doing each other favors, and having the same secret handshake, etc.? Why is that so scary? Why is that scary? Why is it? Well, obviously it's terrifying. Already the idea of dudes doing secret stuff is scary to me, of these dude world leaders, because they're all evil capitalists who don't care about the lives of human beings. They don't care about human life. They only care about their stocks and their bank accounts and their offshore bank accounts, etc. The motto of the Bohemian Club is "Leaving spiders come not here," which is supposed to mean like, oh, we don't do any business here. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Okay. The most notable planning meeting that is on record to have happened at Bohemian Grove is the planning meeting for the Manhattan Project, which is the project that led to the creation of the atomic bomb. Okay, so I would say that is a woven web of things that had a huge, long-lasting impact on the entire world. So what webs aren't you weaving? Because I'm pretty sure you are weaving your webs inside the Grove. Wow, do you hate this story yet? All of this is just super accessible, real information that is like on their Wikipedia pages and stuff. It's not even a conspiracy. It's a public club. It has a public member list. Okay, but they do have secrets. And that's where it starts to get creepier. Surprising no one. Once a year at Bohemian Grove, there is a 2-week retreat of all these powerful dudes where they don't talk about business. But like, I really honestly just can't imagine what these guys would talk about if not business. Like, boats, I guess they would probably talk about, or cool, innovative ways to exploit people. Maybe they watch Netflix. Maybe they all watch The Tiger King. If they all watched The Tiger King, I bet their favorite person would be Doc Antle. Okay? Yeah, that's a burn. I went there. I did. All right, so at their 2-week summer camp throwdown, the weirdest thing that happens is this big ceremony called the Cremation of Care. There's photos of the ceremony dating back to like 1907, so it's over 100 years of tradition at this point. It's basically like a little theater production, but since it's put on by the world's elite, it's like a very high level production. There's a huge orchestra. Walter Cronkite narrated a voiceover that was used for many, many years. He was the voice of this owl, which I'll get to. So the thing about this performance is it really seems like an occult ritual. It's not that far-fetched to me that this is an occult ritual. Like, there's people, like, these people are like in robes, okay, honoring this massive cement statue that they're burning this effigy to. I'm actually here at the Grove right now, as you can see from my background. So this is totally normal, right? Owls, just a symbol of knowledge, right? except for actually the argument could be made that this statue is representative of the ancient god Moloch, which is the god, I mean, I'm sure it's a very complex deity, okay? But the SparkNotes version of this Babylonian owl is that it's the god of child sacrifice, which is not a good look for the world leaders who are already really neck deep in horrible child abuse scandals, okay? So a major part of Bohemian Grove and talking about it is you have to talk about Alex Jones, okay? So I'm going to go a little sidebar to kind of talk about Alex Jones for a little bit before we get into his role in what he did at Bohemian Grove, okay? So when I started looking into this topic, it kind of felt like I came like almost full circle, I guess, into my foray into looking into conspiracies and conspiracy theories. I first started getting into so many different concepts and philosophies almost 10 years ago when I moved to New Orleans. And I was very naive, newborn adult. You know, I had morals, but I wouldn't say I had like politics yet. Like I was 22 and I had, you know, I have a moral compass. We all do, but like I just wasn't educated enough. I'm from Syracuse. It's like, you know, there's really not a lot going on there. It's not like a political center. So I didn't really know that much. So I started living with this random dude who was really charismatic and smart and would tell me all these conspiracy theories about the CIA and the government and like the Kennedy assassinations and how they're connected to Ochsner Hospital, and we lived like just a few blocks from this building that was a part of, you know, that Kennedy Ochsner conspiracy, which I would love to get into sometime. But I was just kind of very swept into what this guy was telling me because it was all so new and exciting and enthralling. It's like literally the most interesting topic to me is the truth of the world and the truth of what's going on and the real parameters of, you know, the world we're living. What are the rules in this game that we're playing, okay? So all of this to say, one day, you know, we're at the house and he starts showing me Alex Jones videos on YouTube, and I have no idea who Alex Jones is, okay? So we're watching these videos and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, wow, that's crazy. Like some of the stuff that Alex was saying in these videos that my friend was showing me, it wasn't apparent to me immediately how horrible Alex Jones is and how poisonous his rhetoric is to actual people who just are curious. And that is something that I noticed with this person I was living with, was he was so manipulated by Alex Jones's politics. You know, Alex Jones becomes way more than an educator or somebody that's giving you access to secret information. Obviously he has an agenda. I don't really understand what his moral goal is. Like even to pull one out that I would totally disagree with. I just can't formulate what he thinks. It kind of seems like he just wants to prove himself to his dad and his grandfather. But I wasn't questioning Alex Jones's rhetoric at first because to me there wasn't anything to question yet. Okay. Really what happened was when Mike Brown was murdered by the police and the protests in Ferguson were happening, my roommate kept calling that event a false flag. And that's just wrong. And it also paints the plight of Black Americans in this really fantastical lens. Like, no, your plight isn't real. It's a conspiracy by the government to distract us from the New World Order. That's not true. The plight of Black Americans is very, very real. Black Americans are not being manipulated by powers to just, I mean, it's just racist. It's anti-Black racism that comes out of Alex Jones, and he frames them in this way that people like this dude I was living with eat it the fuck up. They just eat it up. Like, totally eat it up. I did not eat it up. I don't understand what the difference between me and this person was to make him able to eat it up so much and me not buy into it at all. But that's just what happened. And then this person, you know, a few years later, went on to really heavily campaign for Trump because Alex Jones was telling people that Trump is against the globalists. Trump is an idiot, okay? And he's a racist, horrible monster that is using his position to just hurt people every day. And Trump has not stopped the globalists, okay? If that's what you think the agenda is, like, it didn't happen, okay? That guy's a tool. Anyways, okay, ranting. I ranted. I allow myself a rant. I just felt like I needed to contextualize that before I get into talking about Alex Jones, okay? Because so much of my personal problems with seeking out this information is that to access it and to learn about it, you oftentimes are running into these Alex Jones type figures who suck and are trash. But we are going to talk about him right now because he did something super major. Nobody has ever done this. He's the only person who has ever done this. He infiltrated Bohemian Grove and filmed their ceremony. This is a screen cap from his video. He made a 2-hour documentary called Dark Secrets inside Bohemian Grove. I watched the whole movie. It was so bad. It's a bad movie. Alex Jones is a loser. He's a racist. He says such racist things in this movie that I'm just not going to repeat because it's just white supremacist, racist ignorance. And of course, it's extremely harmful and toxic to put this rhetoric out there, to spew it from your mouth when you have any kind of platform. And I've personally witnessed it affect people who are curious and skeptical. I feel like Alex Jones made this person who I was close with into a white supremacist in a lot of ways, or at least created a way for white supremacy to exist in alternative culture, you know? Because it's like these people who are so into the Alex Jones thing really feel like they're revolutionaries, like fighting against the powers, but they're not. They are upholding white supremacy, which is the exact thing that the powers are doing. So they're really, really aligned, super aligned. Their goals are actually the same because it's all about, you know, white supremacy just packaged in different ways. In this movie, Alex Jones talks about a lot of his personal ideals, and I do want to individually break some of them down before we get really into the details of what he did at Bohemian Grove. So yeah, in this movie, Alex Jones talks about how he doesn't believe there's a left and a right. He believes there's like a ruling class, and then at the other end of the spectrum, there's anarchy, and he wants to be somewhere in the middle. I also believe in a ruling class. I wouldn't say there's no difference between the left and the right, but obviously it's just two sides of one very small faction of ideals that not most people prescribe to. I would say there is still a difference between the left and the right, though, so I don't necessarily agree with him there. I do agree it's a mess of a mess. That's function is to serve the purpose of the powerful people who already exist inside the government system, siphoning money out of super PACs, etc., and crafting laws in order to further their individual stock market game in order to, you know, just make money. But why would you want to be in the middle of the road between government and anarchy? It's because Alex Jones is this bad person. And when you're a bad person, you project that onto people and you think that everybody's bad. He thinks that man left to his own devices would be up to no good. I do not agree with that. I think culturally, our existence in capitalism is what skews the morals of people to make them act in a way where they then feel that there's a need for government intervention. Like, why does somebody steal something? 99% of the time, it's capitalism. Why does somebody feel ownership of something in a way that somebody could even steal conceptually? That's capitalism, baby. You want to control your things and your stuff and your money. So you need to control people as well because you're nervous about your stuff. But if you stop being concerned about your stuff and focus your concerns on participating in a meaningful community, then I think people will actually show up in a way that doesn't need a government or regulation. You know, it's not like people aren't checked by each other all the time. Like, you know, the government wasn't in your household with you, grounding you. Like, that was your mom or your parent, you know? I just feel like in our small communities, we can hold each other accountable. I also feel like I see really successful, like mutual aid groups, like in, you know, Corona times. I'm in a mutual aid group where we gather and redistribute funds, and it's awesome. There's not a hierarchy. It's not, you know, it's just like, here's some money for you. And nobody's greedy, everybody's honest, and it's great. You know, people aren't that bad. Okay, number 2 of Alex Jones's stupid opinions. Alex Jones thinks bureaucracy is the enemy, and I, again, think it's misdirected, and capitalism is the enemy. Alex Jones is a capitalist who thinks that government regulation is the enemy. The government does create avenues in which corporations can manipulate loopholes in order to make way more money than is logical in, you know, businesses. But here's the thing, the bureaucracy in our government is a result of capitalism, or at least something that grew in alignment with the growth of capitalism in our society. Capitalism is a system that creates an environment where humans are competing against each other to gain the most capital. It snowballs into greed, exploitation, corruption, and a total disregard for the lives that you use to get your gains. Jeff Bezos, for example, okay, he doesn't pay taxes, he exploits his employees. You know, we've all heard about Amazon employees peeing their pants at work because they can't take a bathroom break in order to reach productivity. And they're all risking their lives during, you know, the COVID crisis to do what? Like, Jeff Bezos had, I saw some headline, I should have written it down, that basically he's making a bunch of money off of this crisis. Nobody should be making money off of the corona crisis. Like, Jeff Bezos is so evil. So Alex Jones does recognize in his documentary that the world is run on slave labor, which I'm putting in quotes because the transatlantic slave trade was a very real and specific event. So I would maybe not use the word slavery to describe the conditions that people are working in today, because it is not the same as what people experienced in the transatlantic slave trade. But the idea is that the world is run on labor made by human beings who are not allowed to have lives. You know, working for a corporation and spending all your time just to be able to afford your bed and your food and not have anything else happening, like, that's not living. It's very sad. So yeah, I'm gonna, again, second point is the problem is capitalism, and bureaucracy is its evil sidekick, but they are not different. Okay, number 3. Alex Jones is a Christian, and he's very like, I'm a Christian, and he thinks that anything pagan or occult is bad. Okay, well, obviously we don't agree on that. I do not think paganism or occultism is bad. I actually think it's really great. I think occult practices are just born out of natural human intuition and an innate connection that we all have together as humans that we can utilize for different purposes. To act like Christianity and the occult are different at all is kind of ridiculous. You know, like Alex Jones, I feel like puts everything in these really extreme opposites when they're pretty much the same thing. You know, I'm sure anybody watching this video is well versed in the ways that Christianity stole pagan holidays. So Alex Jones's hate of occultism and his strong claims of his own Christianity, etc., is just, to me, suspicious behavior to forward white supremacist Christian ideals that, again, are not dissimilar from the people, from the globalists he's fighting. It seems like Alex Jones is trying to use his religious zealotry to control people, and these people are trying to use religion to control people too, just in a different way. Water break. Okay, so this brings us back to the ceremony that Alex Jones infiltrated. We went on a really long tangent. I'm sorry. We're back now. Okay, so Bohemian Club has this annual gathering, Bohemian Grove, where it culminates in this souped up pagan-ish ritual, and he literally snuck in and filmed it. You really need to be a normie ass white man to do what Alex Jones did. I wouldn't be able to do it. They don't let women anywhere near this shit. Okay? There's no women. He snuck into this very exclusive event with a friend, basically just banking on his Texas accent and telling people that he was friends with George Bush, and people just believed him. So he had he was one. I mean, there was like a couple thousand people at the ceremony. I would say maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people. It looked like. So it's like he was sneaking into a very exclusive event, but maybe not a totally unsneakable into event, but like, you know, he had his ducks in a row to sneak. And you can really easily find the footage of this on YouTube. Oh, I can even link it. I'll link it in the description. And I will link to one that is not the entire movie, that is incredibly boring and a waste of time to watch, and is a lot of footage of just like Alex Jones running through the woods. Okay, I don't want anybody else to have to watch that. I did it for you! So, Cremation of Care ceremony that I watched in this video. It is extremely elaborate. It's really boring. It's cringy. It's corny. It's filled with boring monologues by old men that are extremely dramatic. The orchestra must be a massive symphony. The music sounds good. I love classical music though, so I'm a sucker. And what happens is they burn a human, like, it's not a human, but it's like an effigy of a human to this owl statue. Totally casual. Not a spell. It's a spell. So this I'm not sure. I wouldn't bank on feeling like this part is necessarily 100% true, but Alex Jones does obtain a program for the ceremony that has like little depictions of demons on the front, and also a skeleton of a burning child in front of this statue, but he could have just made that. If he didn't though, I mean, that's kind of crazy. So basically what we have here is all of, you know, US and world leaders coming together in this ancient forest, totally secluded, to fake sacrifice a child to this giant owl statue. Okay. So when I was kind of getting ready to organize my thoughts for this video, I was watching a lecture by Alan Moore on YouTube. I feel like I just had to kind of massage my brain with that, you know, smart angel genius man, Alan Moore. So I'll put a link to this video in the description too, because it's super good. It's just like a keynote speech of him from like 2016. Glad I decided to watch it because it actually kind of it just gave me some more context for this situation. In the video, he talks about, basically he's just on a rant. So the first thing he's kind of talking about is the birth of human consciousness, like when human beings really were able to snap into that like elevated consciousness level. And he thinks that the most ancient shamans, like the shamans born out of this moment of elevation in our psyche, that those first shamans kind of centered their worldview around the communal ecstasy of existence itself, and how he talked about how shamans would basically achieve this ecstasy by partying, really. You know, they're like the true bohemians, I guess I would say. They like, you know, this is also like 7,000 years ago, but it's like they would make music and sing and dance around a fire in the woods under the stars to like experience that elevated moment of like human connection and power that you can then use as like a jumping off point for magical thinking in a magical practice and accessing the magical realm. Obviously, this reminded me of what I had been researching about Bohemian Grove. So it just doesn't seem far-fetched to me at all that these guys are doing a spell. I mean, that's it. It's weird. Um, the difference is that these guys are super evil. They're evil world leaders that are trying to exploit and kill humans to have money. Child sacrifice is specifically so evil. It seems to really permeate the culture of world leaders and powerful men. I mean, we all saw that our suspicions could no longer be called that after the Jeffrey Epstein trial. You know, thinking that powerful men are having these weird, horribly exploitative relationships with children is not a conspiracy. It's proven now. And I don't really want to get into it too much because there's just these theories of this like powerful child sex ring basically they devolve into scenarios where people are manipulated into hurting other innocent people that have nothing to do with these powerful, you know, conspiracies, and wind up just hurting innocent people. I'm really obviously thinking about Pizzagate, where I know people that work at that restaurant. They're just normal punks that work at a restaurant, okay? And they went through a horrible trauma with this person, thinking he was going into this secret sex cult thing. It's not like that's not the vibe. Um, but obviously, these evil people doing stuff to children, it's the most evil thing that you can do to hurt a child. I think it's the most backwards, illogical, like against human nature thing that you can do. And I do believe in good and evil. And I believe in the occult, and I believe in these rituals that these people are doing having an impact, an actual impact on the world. And I think that if there's a group of powerful men with access and tradition and numbers and secrets doing these rituals in the woods alone annually in midsummer, it also happens at midsummer. So yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. It's kind of freaky. It's not surprising to me. Like when I was researching this, I was just like, oh, of course they're doing this. But it still sucks. I think it's important for all of us to know this so that we can do psychic protections on ourselves. I mean, I definitely feel like there's just things going on that we're not aware of, and it's important to do whatever feels most intuitive and natural to you to protect yourself psychically, even taking a shower and cutting your cords, flushing them down the toilet, putting a little salt in there. You don't have to do, I feel like a lot of people do like sage burning and stuff, and if it's not aligned with your heritage, you don't need to do it. There's ways you can intuitively protect yourself, just have to be open to it and meditate on it and try and access that. But it's important to do that because we really, look what they're doing. Like, these guys are, you're a step ahead when you're trying to keep everything a secret, and when you have these, so many magical people went through a diaspora and don't have access to their traditions, to their culture, to their practices. Meanwhile, there's these fucking dickholes in the woods having annual ritual traditions that have been going on for 150 years, almost 150 years. So yeah, that's not fair. That's imbalanced, and we just have to fight against these jerks. In addition to psychic protection, I equally think it's important to do actual organizing work in your communities to create the kinds of cultures that directly oppose the culture that these evil, powerful men are trying to create. Even though we're doing everything on a small scale, the only scale that we can work on, it's still effective. And we can still control our lives and make what we want to, even though there's evil men out there with terrifying rituals who are making actual effectual change to our daily lives through the government. But you can resist it. You really can resist it. And it's not through small government or states' rights, as Alex Jones thinks. It's through the abolition of government, the abolition of prisons, the abolition of capitalism, the destruction and annihilation of white supremacy, which is the biggest factor that these men benefit from in our little sick, sad world. Thank you for joining me for this episode of QTV, which I feel, winds up with my same agenda, which is anti-capitalist and anti-white supremacist. I just want to be able to share these theories with people and remove them from the context of conservative viewpoints, because it's dangerous to have those concepts together. Because, in I mean, obviously, I think that my viewpoints are better, but anarchy to me is all about creating, you know, a community and letting people live their lives. So if you enjoyed my video, please like and subscribe. And if you are interested in any topics or you think I should cover anything, leave me a comment and suggest it. You know, I'm obviously learning all this stuff. I feel like I have very base knowledge and I have opinions. But all of this stuff is also pretty new to me, so learning together is really, really fun, and I'm enjoying learning with y'all, and I literally am in love, truly in love, and would go get French Quarter married with every single person that watches these videos. It brings me so much joy to be able to entertain you and hopefully give you a part of your day that isn't stewing thinking about Corona and how horrible the world is. Okay, thank you so much for joining me.